What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'll be making a full review for the Romancing Festival Blue banner that brings Blue as a counter specialist for Bow, Professor party support, and Saruin as an AoE specialist for damage in farming. Let's go out to rsrs.xyz website, starting with Blue. He gives the name to the banner and is a strange type of tank. Yeah, 118% endurance and 117% will. Good enough. 128% dexterity and 127% intelligence. Pretty similar values. Agility suffers a little, but it doesn't really matter. Moving on, starts the fight with 13 BP and applies for all stance. That is the same type of passive we got with the first real good style of Julian, the one that we still use it. And it applies taunt for 2 turns, small effect, but also puts all other surviving allies into stealth for small effect. That means that on turn 2 you already have very high chance of being attacked by single target attacks. Then when being directly attacked, we reduce damage taken and counter attack with submarine light arrows. Yeah, this skill here is a very powerful attack that we got in the past with Charade first style, and it was like 14 BP to use, and it hits 7 times with E power with pierce and sun damage. It's good because, okay, Julian can do pierce damage when countering, but Sun is not easy to find. And 7 times with E power, it's like countering 2 times with a 4S power attack, I would say. And Blue will also benefit from stuff like Xenon, way of increase of damage via weak point, and other characters like Monica in the future and others as well. That the more you attack with a sad element, in this case Sun, you're gonna do more damage. We'll get to a point where we get the Pierce version as well, so I do believe that Blue is different than other counters that don't do that many hits. Julian can do from 2 to 4, but that's not 7. 7 is a lot, and he can benefit from this. Good thing is that he doesn't need to cast anything, he always counters. Also, when landing an attack, we'll recover HP by around 400 and cast a defense up that decreases damage taken by 10% for the whole fight, up to 10 times per battle. Multiplicatively means that the more he attacks, the better he gets defensively. And counters also account for this. Also, on start of turn gets 2 extra BP for a total of 5, and will grant all surviving allies attack boost of 15% increasing damage, and also heat ups up to 5 times, so on turn 5 onwards, we are going to get a 65% improval to damage. He also increases damage all the time by 20%, extra 40 when countering, and reduces damage taken by 30%. He also gets Satisfaction as a special passive, that when he lands an overdrive or weak attack, he's then going to get a weak attack boost that will improve damage versus weak enemies by 30%, and an overdrive attack boost that will increase damage when using overdrive attacks by 30%. Lasts for 2 turns as well, and will stack, and will also recover 1 BP. So you're gonna use Blue on Remembrance fights. That means that the enemy is always weak, and when you want to use him outside of Remembrance, it will also be usually versus enemies weak to either Pierce or Sun. That means that every time that he counters, he's going to counter and trigger this effect, and 30% usually, and 60% on overdrive, and it becomes 60, then 120, then 180, depending on the number of times Blue can attack. That actually builds up to increase his damage by quite a lot. On JP, his damage was not so high because of lack of self-buffing, but now it is a lot on global. Moving on for our skills, the first one is Light Arrow. It's a single target attack with Pierce and Sun, and there's a chance to debuff the enemy will by 15% on max level. Why? Because they want to sell Blue as a specialist for Road Blocker, and the buffing will allow you to have higher chances to apply stun. It's still not a guarantee, just part of the strategy. The second skill is Flash Barrier Arrow. It's a fast single target attack that can only be used once, pierce and sun damage as well, 8 BP cost and a blast power. Okay, but then it gives you damage block for 2 turns and also a defense up of extreme effect that decreases damage taken by 30% for the whole fight. It's not really like Blue needs it, but there are tanks that have a better sustain on turn 1. That means that he may not survive some special boss fights, and then you're going to use this. But if you feel like your Blue has enough sustain, you don't even need to use it. And the third one is Heavenlight Bow Dance. It's a fast single target attack as well. Sun and Pierce, this is a spell. The other ones are bow attacks. That will grant all surviving allies a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 25%, lasts for 3 turns and stacks. It will also recover all surviving allies VP by 1, including himself. That means that it uses only 9 in the end of the day. It has a power, don't care about power, but it's very useful type of mechanic. Right now, you just need more and more character defense boost to survive, and not many tanks have ways to improve defense boost. We can get that via Vagnus, that is the best competitor, and now Blue can also do it. And because you just actually use 9, and you also be getting 1 BP when landing an attack, that means that you are spending actually 9, and you will get at least 6 in a turn, even if you don't get countered. You can sometimes keep using this attack if you have enemies attacking Blue, or if you have external BP sources. 3 turns of defense boost of minus 25% is very good for a tank. Blue, like I said, will compete with Vagnus. Vagnus can be better in some setups, and, well, they use different types of damage. We have Pierce with Vagnus, though, and that comes from his Flying Spear maneuver. And Vagnus will do more damage, usually. He can get to 4 attacks when he gets enough hits, and also builds up BP if he's attacking on overdrive every turn. But some enemies that are weak to sun will also be weak to heat. That means that sometimes you have to choose between one. Vagnus is better if the enemy is attacking your whole squad, because he would then be buffing defense boost. As you can see from his passive, when being attacked, grants all surviving allies defense boost. He also gets other defense boosts when attacking and countering, but the party will survive if the enemy attacks multiple times. While Blue is easier to use because you have the defense boost active, since it's a fast skill and it stacks up to 3 times. Anyway, for Pierce, both will work. As for the other elements, depends. If you just got Vagnus and you feel like you're okay with him, for general content, okay. Blue was made for both Megalith Dragon and Roadblocker, because they also need specialists. One to debuff Will, the other one to counter. And Blue counters with a lot of damage while also applying defense boost that we need for the new hard challenges. Blue is one of the best counter tanks in the game right now. I would say that he competes with Vagnus while being a little less useful generally, but he is also just as good as Julian could be in the past, although Julian does stack a lot of SCR buffs to the party and can even build up endurance instead of defense boost. So because of that, Blue is really great, but future tanks will kinda compete more with Vagnus than Blue does. Gets super close to a 5 out of 5 grade, but I feel like he's more deserving of a 4.5. There are no need of inheritances. If you want, you can inherit enhanced magic from his UDX style. That will give him way to improve the damage of probably someone else. He's not really good with this because he counters with a bow skill. This will improve the spell damage of someone in your party by 250 in 5 turns. So if you are using Joe, for example, with Blue, Blue can increase her damage by quite a lot. Nothing else really matters unless you want to use Healing Light to revive someone. Okay, moving on, the next character will be Professor. Professor is interesting. We have 109% endurance and will, good enough. Dexterity is 129, good as well, but nothing else stands out. Moving on, we have Guy Auto Pursuit. That is a very interesting mechanic. When you land an attack, you're going to chase with Bounce Shot Plus. That is a double S power attack. And also when attacking on overdrive, you're gonna chase with Selfie Shot. Selfie Shot is very busted. It's a fast skill, well, when used as command, and it uses MVP double S power. But what matters is that you grant all surviving allies go-go time for 1 turn. And what is go-go time? When launching an attack, your allies will be able to buff STR, Dexterity, Intelligence, Will, and Charisma for everyone by 5%. Max times 2. Okay, so it will give you 2 times Google time, and Google time can get to 10% when you are using as a command. If you use this skill and also on overdrive, Each one of your characters can buff as much as 20%. Now, the only problem is that Professor needed even higher agility to guarantee to become as fast as you want. But most of the time, depending on the formation and placement Professor is, you will still be able to allow everyone to be buffing themselves. If you are in a fight where the enemy does not buff break you, you're gonna reach very high values. And now the other good thing about Go-Go Time is that it buffs will as well, not just offensive status, and even charisma that helps you with healing. So you do more damage, reduce the chance of being applied with ailments, with debuffs, and resist magical attacks as well. This is already pretty good, and Professor has more besides this. That's called Unparalleled. And this is an effect that you saw before in her past style, and it will allow you to cast Unparalleled 10 times for someone, only once. So you will be improving the damage of one specific character because of many buffs. Those were a Morale Up that improves damage by 50% for 1 turn, a Guard Up that decreases damage taken by 25% for 1 turn, all status buffs by 15%, and 3 extra BP. People used this in order to beat the Megalith Dragon fight, because Leon was always usually the only one attacking, while the other ones were just applying effects, defense boosts, healing. So if you increase the power of Leon, he will be able to finish the fight faster. Now, this was for 10 turns and a single target skill. Now, we have Unparalleled 5 times for all surviving allies on the start of the battle. Everyone gets the benefits. And then she's going to use it again. Well, you can wait 5 turns if you want, and then use Unparalleled on turn 6, because this is fast, everyone will benefit. But look, this can be used 3 times per battle, and it will recover HP of everyone by quite a lot, and that will be around 1,500. This is not a recovery skill though, so it won't revive, and you can get the effects again for another 5 turns, and theoretically you can have all of these effects for 20 turns. It's good enough for like 95% of the content of the game. And it's everyone getting this, man. 3 extra BP and a lot of buffs. These are amazing. And she already has it available for 5 turns on the start of a fight. Well, besides all of that, on the start of a turn she gets 2 BP, and she grants the action order up to herself so that she can be faster than characters that have the fastest skill. Sees how she's trying to fix her own problems. And then we grant all surviving allies an attack boost that improves damage potential by 20% according to JP. By the end of a turn, she also gets 45 points of OG Gouge, because she wants to attack on overdrive because of Gyaryu Pursuit. That will lead into getting the extra buffs from Go-Go Time. Besides, when all allies are still alive, she decreases damage taken for everyone by 30%, improves damage potential by 10, and then reduces damage taken to herself all the time by 30%. Then again by another 30%, and she improves her own damage by 42. Well, what are we looking at here? She gets up to 75% damage improval for everyone because of all the effects. She has 2 defensive layers to herself and a 3rd for everyone that increases damage taken by 30. It's a lot of different effects, and she's not locked into just doing this for a single weapon type. She does it for everyone. Moving on, we have Quick Draw, that is just a free attack that is fast, and this is something that you use on overdrive just to guarantee the chase with Go-Go Time if you don't have enough PP to use that skill. And Lovely Shower you already discussed it. Selfie Shot you'll be using all the time where you have BP, and the only problem is that she only has 8. You need someone to give her 2 extra points, but that should not be a problem in most cases. Just bring Leon and he fixes the problem, and many other characters as well. So she doesn't need any type of inheritance, she's so good as she is. But you can also just go for her past style and get this exciting reload shot. That is a 10 BP attack, blunt, and grants her a chase with S power, that she will do more damage. It's not really necessary, I don't think it will improve her damage by too much. She becomes more of a semi-damage dealer. She's here for support, and just using Go-Go Time will allow you to keep buffing your offensive status and improving damage, alongside the Morale Up that you're going to get, alongside all status buffs and all of that. When she's on overdrive, she allows people to buff up to 100% status, and when she's not, it's 50% max. it still helps if the boss does not buff break you every time. And even if it does, you are also buffing Will. Will is important in most fights. Professor is really good as well, and I would say she comes close to a 5-2. It's a character that will help many parties. The problem is that she's a gun user, and we'll get many gun users because of SaGa Emerald Beyond. And she works both on Remembrance and normal content as well. And I do believe that she may actually take the Helm as the best unit, as Blue has a little more restriction, has much more competition, and Professor has a different type of support that will make more difference in the current meta. Very close to a 5, but a 4.5 is good enough. Moving on, we have Saruin, and he now has 136% STR and 105 and 104 endurance and will respectively. His intelligence is also 136% because he's a hybrid damage dealer. Agility is 101%, doesn't really matter because most of the time you're gonna use Saruin as a farmer or as a specialist for challenges with multiple targets. He starts the fight with 20 BP, yeah, fully charged, and grants himself the 1 atop. On the start of a turn, he's going to cast Beat Up for everyone by 20%, improving damage for the whole fight, reaching 60% just from this alone. And also on the start of a turn, he always buffs all surviving allies, SGR, Dexterity, Agility, and Intelligence by 15%, all offensive status. When he lands an attack, he's going to chase with Divine Punishment. That is a AoE attack, his first skill, and that has a chance to debuff the enemy's will by 20%. Why? Because he can be used on Roadblocker if you haven't beaten that one yet with Great Swords. He can also stun with low chance. You can even use this skill, so you're going to use it twice to debuff will twice and try to stun twice. Depending on the turn that you are facing Roadblocker, it will be more than enough, because you are also buffing your own intelligence. Now you have also a 50% chance to chase with a skill tree. That is a very pricey command. It has a 17 BP cost, and it's triple S power with Slash and Lightning. And when the attack lands, grants defense down 15% as a skill because it's of level 99, and 10% as a chase. So if you are using Heavenly Thunder, you can debuff the defense of the enemy up to 25%. But the thing here is the power. AoE triple S power attacks are pretty rare, and suddenly will do a lot of damage when used on the challenge wells or in fights where there are multiple targets either weak to Slash or to Lightning. We also have Madeline that will help improve Saruin's damage even further alongside any other type of Slash or Lightning damage buffer like Johan, Gray, Rich, and many others. Besides all of that, when attacking on Overdrive, you will grant all surviving allies an attack boost of 10% damage improval for 2 turns and stack, whatever, and a 15% defense boost that lasts for 2 turns against stack. And also Heavenly Thunder will be activated. This is a guarantee to chase with skill 3. That means that if you are on turn that you are on Overdrive and you use Heavenly Thunder as a command, you will chase with Heavenly Thunder as a guarantee and a 50% chance to chase again. And a guaranteed Divine Punishment means that you can get up to 4 attacks. 3 attacks with triple S power and 1 with deep power. Very nice. By the end of a turn, gets 2 BP and then gets 45 points of OG Gouge to allow him to get into Overdrive every 2 turns to guarantee that extra Heavenly Thunder. He also has weak maximum voltage that improve damage potential versus weak targets by 200% via 4 stacks of 50%. Then we have Intrinsic G's Word 5 to improve damage at all times by 30%, reduces damage taken when resisting by 40, and has a 37% chance to evade resisted attacks. This allows Saruin to be used on real challenges. Like I said, there are places like some Spiral Corridors with multiple enemies, and in the future, Remembrance Battle with multiple targets too. Besides all of those effects, we still have the skill number 2, Thunder Domination. That is an AoE, this time a spell, Shadow and Lightning damage that can only be used once. What will he do? Another the 1 atop. That means that you're going to cast a secondary 3 times hit ups, so you'll be improving the damage of your party by 120%, including yourself. And instead of just buffing 15% status for SGR, Dexterity, Agility, and Intelligence, you'll be buffing 30 now. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You're also going to grant another hit up to yourself of 20%, and a defense up that will decrease damage taken for the whole fight by 20% too. And will grant the end of turn recover of 3 BP by the whole fight. This is a way to kind of try to apply some good effects to Saruin, because he had a very good one called Wave of Malice that you could improve shadow damage, up to 3 times by 50%, and then add more BP generation by the end of turn. It's not like you cannot use this. You actually can inherit Wave of Malice, especially in some tough fights. Of course, I prefer to use the Thunder Domination first, and then you can kind of use the Wave of Malice if the fight is too long to improve your damage and even generate more BP, because my gosh, 17 BP, it's kind of hard to build. Very hard, and even if you have many characters improving your BP. But look, he has 5, and then he becomes 8, and then you can get to 11 if you are using that inheritance Wave of Malice. Still not 17. So unless you're gonna get a lot of BP from 2 or even 3 characters that can give BP, Saruin is not going to use Have a Light Thunder every turn. Safe to use it on Overdrive and use Divine Punishment on turns where you don't have enough. Saruin is a very strong attacker. You can also inherit Finish Zona if you want to use versus one enemy alone, or Saruin Sonic to use his skill if the enemies are aligned in a row 2 times with 8 power is pretty similar to Triple S. These attacks are Shadow and Slash, so if you want to do, for example, Shadow damage, these are your options, because now this guy is about Slash and Lightning. Pretty different than before, right? So Saruin will also work in squads where we have people like Madeline, like I said, but also when use it with Rich, when use it with Johan, because Johan buffs slash damage and decreases slash resistance of the enemy, and many others. But the thing is, most challenges are just about one boss, unless we are talking about future remembrances that will have more enemies, but some are also just one enemy as well. And the utility of this Saruin decreases by a lot when you are fighting versus just one enemy. In other cases, people will be using him for challenge wells, but what do you get from that? 100 gems per week. It's not really worth the investment. Saruin is the less impactful and less important character of them all, because it's just too hard to use him on full potential. And even the last Saruin was hard to use, even though he decreases damage taken for the party by 30%, and right now we just need extra support to the party. Saruin is just about offense and some special damage in area. I believe that he deserves only 3 out of 5, but people can judge me and say that should be a 3.5. Let's move back to the banner image. And is this banner worth summoning for? Yes, but not quite. I will give it a Silver Plus award. This banner has similar value as the other one that has Creator and Arpina, because this one has Blue and Professor as the main highlights. Professor is even better than Blue in my opinion, with Blue still being good because he uses bows, and we won't get that many bow units in the game. And Professor helps because she works super well for members, but outside of it as well. Saruin is a strong damage dealer for multiple targets, but we're gonna get other ones. There's nothing really special about him, so if you wanna pull, and if you got one of the main ones in 1 or 2 pulls, stop, because there are plenty of good banners in the future. But if you go for a PT, well, okay, if you get Blue and Professor, but don't mind about Saruin. Anyway, I will not be pulling on this banner because I pulled it on Creator banner, and I do believe I have other replacements for those two. And that's just my opinion. What is yours? Please say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, we have links in the description. I hope to see you soon on the next one. Goodbye.